I don't know what you would call it.
Annoying.
Although, from some angles, it almost looks like carpet as well, doesn't it?
It does. I like the steering wheel position as well for these old school character models. They hand it 10 and 2. Or that's almost... No, Stuart! He kept it together through all the green flag racing there. And under caution, he goes and puts it in the fence, trying to get by some of those slower guys. Brenton Hobson, he's up into second place.
Some of those onboard shots remind me of really terrible motor racing movies like Days of Thunder.
You did not. Lockie. No.
I went there.
You shouldn't have gone there, Lockie. Removed from the comms box. That is a horrible... You cannot
say Ryan Jones speechless.
Welcome back. You... No! You take that back. Days of Thunder, Talladega Nights, the 2 greatest movies ever made. And Jay Kennedy said Cars is up there as well.
I'd agree with Jay Kennedy on that. I actually think the Cars movies are probably better than Days of Thunder, to be perfectly honest. So meanwhile, while we're under the safety car, the crashes have not slowed down whatsoever. We have had some pit stops taking place. So there's only one car that's not stopped yet, which is Caleb Hydes, and he now leads the race. Oh, Dylan Golson's also not pitted either, according to timing. So Job Stewart, Brenton Hobson, Jordan Mulak, the top 3 cars that have done pit stops at this stage.
Caleb Hydes is one of the strangest, most funniest finishes we've seen in this series. And it was the 4th place back at the Roval in Charlotte Speedway, when he and, I do forget who the other driver was, ended up both slowing down to the line. I just paused because I was looking from chopper cam from Job Stewart's car, and suddenly a car came into view that was airborne and doing barrel rolls, and it sort of threw my focus a bit. Here's a replay. I think he landed in front of Stewart. I think you might see a car drop from the sky here. Or it might have been behind him. Yep, there it is. I think that's a case of a fast car arriving at the back of the safety car queue and not having the brakes to slow down. That was
Hobson. So he started triple somersault with Pike. Oh, and ended up in a very bad position over the catch fence as well. So Brenton Hobson's back in the pits. Caleb Hyde's in the pits now as well. I'm just trying to work out exactly who's going to be the race leader when all of this shakes out. The other thing as well is how many cars
arounds.
Yeah, lots of cars getting waved around. Lights are still on the safety car, the pace car. Now they're out, so we'll have a restart next time around. And there's some cars that got waved around, but have actually been too damaged to have been able to continue on. So they're just slotting back into the pack. So, according to timing, Dylan Golson's the race leader. Timing is telling us that he's not yet stopped. I'm not sure how true that is, though, because we saw that he had a big crash earlier on. Surely he would have had to pit after that. Job Stewart second, then Jordan Mulak, Pete Dunham, David Haines, Mega Ott, Will Longmore, Ashton Beneath, Caleb Hydes, and Brenton Hobson rounding out the top 10 at this stage. But Caleb Hydes and Brenton Hobson are currently in the pits. And there's only 10 cars on the lead lap. Everybody from 11th place down is at least 1 lap down, more than 1 lap down in some cases. And I'm not sure about you, Ryan, but I don't feel like I've actually done that much proper serious racing commentary since this event began.
No. They're still crashing in the background. That's Daniel Aish, number 11, and that's going to be a good avoiding. A good demonstration of how to avoid another big crash from Brad Hayes. David Haines started 19th up into 5th. Mirot 26 to 6.
Can you imagine if either David Haines or me or actually got up and won this thing? We would not hear the end of it.
Oh, God, no, we wouldn't. Oh, God, no, please don't let that happen.
Well, it's a distinct possibility. They're both in the top 6.
It is. Hey, let's cross our fingers then and see what happens. As Dylan Golson gets us back underway. Back to the green flag we go. The glorious sound of the 1987 Cup Series cars. Down into turn 1 at full noise. And they're side by side. P3, Dunham up on the top. He's got Jordan Mulak down low.
So, who's got the pace, who's got the right strategy, and most of all, who can avoid the shunts? That's going to be the deciding factor for week 2, season 4 of Just Senators. Job Stewart goes down low and relieves Dylan Golson of the race lead.
Good move from Stewart there. I think just breathed the throttle to as he entered the corner to avoid sliding up and into the fence with the extra pace he was carrying. Speak of extra pace, check out the run from Jordan Mulak. Going to slingshot on by Dunham and tuck in line into 3rd place now. As Dunham almost grabs the fence with the right rear. You're on board with Golson as well, as he now starts to find the benefit of the slipstream. Off the Ector, the banking. Look for the run down the back straight. Should be able to perform what Stewart did last lap. Opts not to. Sits in behind. And suddenly, your top half a dozen are right up in between. Right up on each other's bumpers.
Job Stewart drove down the middle of the road there then, so Dylan Golson wasn't really sure exactly what direction he needed to go to be able to execute the pass. One thing that I could really see there from the on-board shot from Dylan Golson's car was just how bumpy the road is and just how many surface changes there are. So when you're travelling at such high speed, no wonder so many drivers are struggling to maintain control of their cars, because it's going to be like fighting an octopus trying to keep the thing on the straight and narrow.
Lachlan Manif just triggered a multi-car wreck. On the inside, they were 3 wide. That's Dunham in the middle. He gets collected and spins. The Mirot has nowhere to go. Look at this for Mirot. Immediately sent back to pit lane.
And the car that caused the accident, which was actually Ashton Manif, has managed to get away with it, as we've got a second safety car. So
he got airborne.
Normally,
no wonder it wouldn't turn.
Normally in Just Send It, we only have one safety car, but tonight we're going to have a second one.
Speaking of cars, that's like Lightning McQueen trying to come to the line, wasn't it? All 4 in the air. Trying to be the first to the corner in this event in the end. That didn't work out. If you haven't got your front tyres on the deck, you can't turn it into the corner, as he just found out.
Again, when you are travelling, and we talked off air about the speeds that these cars were achieving in terms of top speed, well over 300 kilometres an hour, up around 200 miles an hour to use the American terminology. And yeah, basically if you hit a bump or an imperfection in the racetrack, then you can understand why the car's going to get so unsettled. And the other thing as well is some of the corners are quite blind, so when you're travelling so fast and you're that committed and somebody goes off in front of you, especially seeing as we do have quite a big field of cars tonight, you're not going to have a whole lot of time to react or to be able to do anything about avoiding it. So that's why we've seen so much mass carnage this evening. You know what it's been, Ryan?
Pandemonium. You know what there hasn't been, though?
What?
There hasn't been a contretemps.
Oh, there's been a few of those, I think. I need to come up with some more words to add to your vocabulary, actually. I haven't done that for the last couple of weeks.
Slack it off.
We've had contretemps, we've had pandemonium, I think we've had brouhaha was another one that I gave to you. Metronomic.
Hang on, rewind. Was that like a war chant, or what the heck was that third one?
Brouhaha.
What even? That ain't a real thing.
Again, I encourage people who want to know the definitions of these words to look them up in the dictionary. So, under safety car for the second time here in Week 2, Season 4 of Just Send It. Normally, as mentioned, we only have the one safety car, but such has been the attrition rate tonight and the number of cars that have sustained damage. The series organisers have decided to bring out the safety car for a second time, as we've got poor old Brenton Hobson involved in some further trauma. Oh! Gee whiz. So Blake Purdy was involved in that as well. So Blake Purdy, I think, was the car that actually caused that incident. Some of these cars are having trouble just making it back into pit lane as well.
The issue with these cars is they've got incredibly little brakes. Little itty bitty brake cylinders and brake pads.
So, I've just looked up the word brouhaha, by the way.
What does it say? In 400 AD, this was used by Roman warriors before they charged into
its origin is French, and it's the definition is a noisy and overexcited reaction or response to something.
Ah, so I see during Just Send It every week.
Pretty much. And contretemps, spelled C-O-N-T-R-E-T-E-M-P-S, which is also French in origin, has a couple of definitions. A minor dispute or disagreement. So actually, our use of the word contretemps is not that accurate, because generally it's been a fairly major dispute or disagreement in Just Send It. And a contretemps can also be an unexpected and unfortunate occurrence.
Sorry, you just say occurrence?
Yes.
Isn't it a isn't it a cur sound?
Occurrence, I said.
There's a car. There's a car sound that's doing some special maneuvers to keep the pace car driver entertained.
So the lights are actually now out on the pace car, so we should have a restart this time around. There are a few cars just unlapping themselves at the moment. It's Job Stewart leading ahead of Dylan Golson, Ashton Beneath in third position ahead of Harrison Dengate, who started this race from pole position, don't forget. Then Jordan Mulak, David Haines. We saw Mia Ott getting involved in a crash, but David Haines is still there in the top 6. So it still has a chance to bring home the bacon in terms of achieving a race victory for the SimSpeed TV broadcast crew. Caleb Hydes in 7th.
And for his team name, Lockie?
I can't remember.
No, neither can I, actually.
Caleb Hydes, Ben Nightingale, Emerson Harvey, and Dean Flavel rounding out the top 10 at this stage. That's the team name for David Haines, for those of you playing along at home.
There's a real-life team that goes to real-life racetracks and puts that on the side of their actual car as well.
Actually, if David Haines was to come through and pick up the victory tonight, he'd become the second SimSpeed TV commentator to have a win in Just Send It, because we saw Bo Albert do it, if you recall. Oh, actually, Mia Ott had a win as well. So,
I think Bo Class is the meme streamer.
Anyway, we are back underway with 18 minutes remaining. Let's try and inject some level of seriousness and professionalism into the broadcast. It has been a little bit more difficult than usual tonight, it has to be said. And here is David Haines going down low, getting squeezed down onto the apron, but gets sideways. And there we go. David Haines is in the fence hard. And was that... I think that was Manaf, was it? That he got tangled up with?
Not sure. All I know is his speedometer went from a hard 340 kilometers an hour to 0 Ks very quickly. There is Lachlan Manaf.
Ashton Manaf, as it is, on board that car tonight. So here is the replay. David Haines went low, and he was getting squeezed down there. Oh, so Manaf has actually clips the wall up high, and then both cars have gone. There's another one that's been involved as well. And yeah, look at that.
Into lower orbit there.
If you're wondering where Ashton Manaf is, go outside and look up in the sky.
Hey, look at your top three. Under a blanket. Down this front straight. They're covered by just about a tenth of a second. They split by the lapped car. And they crash. No, top three. Can he save it? Harrison Dengate, yes, he can. He keeps on going.
A great reaction
through as well.
Yeah, really good reaction there from for Jordan Mulak, who has moved up to be in what will be third position. Here we go. Here's a replay of how it all unfolded.
That's Techstar McCoy that was slow. And as they came back together, they met in the middle.
So one went left, one went right, and then as they've merged back onto the racing line, they've ended up together. Now, the number 4 car is actually running a Lightning McQueen. That's Techstar McCoy, the laps car, running the Lightning McQueen livery. Oh, how lucky was Jordan Mulak not to get caught up in that. And he's now off in hot pursuit of Harrison Dengate, the race leader. Dylan Golson third, but has now dropped to be almost 6 seconds off the lead of the race. Job Stewart back in the pits and out of contention, as we see a spin for Ben Nightingale in 6th position.
Someone's ended up in the fence. Aiden Brand has to take it back to pit lane.
Only 8 cars left on the lead lap at this stage as well.
Yeah, 9th place, Ott, is actually racing with the race leaders. Trying to get her lap back.
Job Stewart back in the pits. Here is Harrison Dengate, who, as I mentioned, started the race from pole. We might have a few less cars on the lead lap now as well. It's going to be one of those nights where if you can stay on the lead lap, you're probably going to finish on the podium.
Probably going to win the race.
Quite possibly. We might actually have the situation where the leader ends up a lap ahead of the entire field. Jordan Mulak, Harrison Dengate battling it out for the win. Here comes Mulak to the inside with a beautiful slipstream.
Mia Ott,
yep,
great front row seat to this battle, looking to get her lap back. As you see how much these cars move about on the bumps that occupy the banking here at Monza. And again, Ott just sits back and will watch on as Mulak and Dengate slide into turn 1, the right rear caressing the fence with Dengate. 2 cars wrecking down low. They go by them.
That's the other challenge, isn't it? Just avoiding cars that are having their own accidents. Maya on here, if she can just follow the leaders around, if there's some more incidents involving some of the other cars at the top of the order, then she could actually still end up with a pretty good result here. Who's made up the most positions so far, Ryan? I don't actually have that information on my timing screen.
Dean Flavel in 5th. Dean Flavel is up from 43rd. Started last.
So 38th spot gain, not bad.
In front of him, Colin Attard, should mention him, from 35th to 4th as well, so he's also gained an impressive amount of time. I think Dengate's gone from pole to lapped to the front, because he was in a wreck earlier on, I know that for sure.
I think you're right. But it really is a two-way battle now. And you have to say that provided that neither of these two get involved in incidents or take each other out, the winner is going to come from either Mulak or Dengate, because they are now almost 10 seconds ahead of Dylan Golson, who sits in third position. Cohen Attard in fourth was almost half a minute off the race lead. There are now only 6 cars left on the lead lap. And more cars wrecking as well.
No, around for Mulak.
Oh, can he save it?
Not this time.
Oh, multiple contacts with the fence and the Armco. And Jordan Mulak now drops out of that front-running battle. So, at this point, you would have to say, with Jordan Mulak now doing donuts and circle work down in the apron there, that it's Harrison Dengate's race to lose.
Mira better be careful here that she doesn't
Take him out.
him. Yeah. She's racing with him now that he's clear to try and get a lap back, and ooh, her car broke loose then down the straight. Very little downforce that these things generate.
Seems to be coming into this first corner. There's a massive bump on the inside, and if you hit it at a certain angle, it will cause your car to become airborne.
Yeah.
It's not that's the worrying thing, though. It's when the car then lands. If it lands at an awkward angle, that's what seems to be unsettling the cars. And we've seen so many getting caught out by it, as we've got...
Dengate.
Off.
He's gone through the gap. He's gone back to the Netherlands.
Oh, you are kidding me. Well, I just said that it was his race to lose. And you know what? He's just lost it because he's back in the pits. So Dylan Golson, the former Charles Sturt University graduate in communications, former employee of the V8 sleuth himself, Aaron Noonan, and the former Toyota 86 Series racer and race winner, goes back to position number 1. Dengate back in the pits. Cohen Attard now up into position 2. Jordan Mulak, even despite that incident a couple of laps ago, still looking pretty good for a podium here. He's back up into third position.
Attard hitting 348 kilometers an hour down into turn 1. Caution's out again, so we're going to stack them up for a sprint here to the end. So that bump at turn 1, that's even worse in normal direction around this track, where it's a right-handed oval, because you can't avoid it coming off the corner. And when you're using the full historic layout, you basically are guaranteed to get airborne every single lap. And it's a case of hitting it as straight as you can. It's a very tight little canyon you've got to navigate through as you come off the oval onto the regular GP track.
So because of the accident for Harrison Dengate, me and Ott managed to get back on the lead lap. So with the safety car now coming out to bunch up the field, she's right back in the game because she's in 6th position, and the margin between her and the race leader, Dylan Golson, is going to be pretty much negligible. So, 3 safety cars. I don't think we've ever had a just send a race with 3 safety cars. Most of them have had 1. There's been the occasional one that's had 2, but I think you'll find that this is the first time that we've actually had 3 safety car appearances in a single race.
iRacing.com Ford Mustang getting its fair share of screen time today as it looks like Techstar McCoy took
a Lightning McQueen car.
Artistic approach to the back straight.
That's a deflated front left tyre that he's now got, so it'll be a very slow tour back to the pits to get that damage repaired.
So who's your pick from here?
Jordan Mulak, I reckon. He's got the speed, he's got the racecraft, and I don't think he'll make the same mistake twice. And I know that having had a few chats to him, he's pretty keen to notch up a win in one of these just send it races, as we've got Ben Nightingale upside down, having actually just got himself back on the lead lap, so...
You had zero hesitation then in putting the curse on him. Absolutely zero.
Well, the thing with Jordan is that he and I are actually good friends and colleagues in the motorsport media industry, so if I do put the commentator's curse on him, I know that I can go to him afterwards and apologise, whereas a lot of the other drivers, I don't necessarily know them that well personally, so I can't.
You'll know them very personally after you do put the curse on them. They'll get in touch and be like, "Oi, you can't do that." But I think everyone's going to stop talking to you anyway, Lockie, after saying that Days of Thunder was a terrible movie.
Just noticed a few cars coming into the pits under this safety car. Probably trying to get some damage fixed, I would imagine. So Jordan Mulak came in, Dean Flavel and Ben Nightingale coming in as well. So basically gives you a free pit stop. Make sure that you've got fresh tyres and a car that's in good condition for the final sprint to the checkered flag. Notice how I completely ignored the comment that you just made there, Ryan, and very quickly changed the subject. So
not very subtly, though.
We are set for a grandstand finish in the literal sense that based on what we've seen so far tonight, we could actually get cars flying up into the grandstand at the end of this race.
Lightning McQueen, if he was a lawnmower, is what Textile McCoy's trying to do there. We've now got 10 cars on the lead lap. So this has opened up to a few more drivers with this last caution. Hobson should get a lap back as well, so that'll make it 12 cars on the lead lap, maybe 13 with Jackson Griffiths. Everyone else is multiple laps down, so they won't get it back. You know, so I'm going to go out on a limb.
Yep.
And I'm going to say David Haines.
Yeah, well, both he and Mia Ott are back in it, aren't they? Mia Ott up to 4th position with a couple of those stops happening under safety car, and David Haines up into the top 5. So the order, with 6 minutes to go, Dylan Golson, your leader, ahead of Coed Attard, Caleb Hydes in 3rd position, back to Mia Ott, then David Haines, Jordan Mulak, Cameron Gall, Dean Flavel, Harrison Dengate, our pole sitter, has worked his way back up to 9th after finding the gap in the fence earlier on. Jonathan Bykoff and Brenton Hobson back on the lane lap. Hobbo
I've got an idea, Lockie.
Catch the train. Yes? What's your idea?
David, what are the chances of you bottling it here, mate?
Very, very high. G'day, everyone. I'd have to say no one's going to lift from here until the end. I appear to have picked up styrofoam bollard that I can't get rid of, so I've got to keep an eye on my water temperature, and I'm not going to...
Oh, he has to!
Oh, it's gone. It's gone. I got rid of it.
Any coordination between you and Mia?
I can try, but she's not very coordinated.
Alright then, best of luck.
Thank you, I'm gonna need it. Cheers, guys. Have
Glad I dragged him in for a chat.
Classic lines there from David Haines behind the safety car. Collecting that bollard, that reminds me of, remember that time that Formula One, when Lewis Hamilton collected some AstroTurf that got stuck in his suspension?
It happened in supercars too. No, it was NASCAR. At the Roval, someone actually picked up one of the sponsor boards and it got stuck to the back of their car.
Bathurst 2002, Mark Scaife and Jim Richards had their air intake clogged up with plastic bags, which set the engine temperatures soaring that day, and they were very lucky to make it to the finish line.
Almost every NASCAR race ever, someone's had their radiator clogged by something. Debris is a big issue in motorsport. Sim racing, you don't normally make it a talking point, but David Haines fighting a way to stay relevant. Alright, lights are out. We're going to go back racing this time with 3 minutes left on the clock, so only a handful of laps to get under our belts. Dylan Golson leading us back to the green flag for the final time today. We go back green, and that is a majestic launch for Golson. Shocking for Attard. And that has given a huge free kick to Golson.
He's pulled clear, and this could be pretty critical in the outcome of this race because he's going to be out of the danger zone. So all of the cars behind are potentially going to get loose as one goes very wide up into the wall there, just grazing it. That was Jordan Mulak there, flirting with disaster as he looked to try and maximise the corner exit speed. We're watching his live top speed on screen. You can see that it's nudging 340 kilometres an hour as he turns into the bank's left hand. It's still well over 230 k's. Our leader's gone. Our race leader's gone.
The next 3 cars, and Mia Ott emerges at the front.
Unbelievable. So he got it completely wrong there. Dylan Golson, all on his own. He had clear track. He had no pressure from behind.
Even Haines. No, he's just wrecked, fighting for second with Mulak. And the gap gets bigger for Mia.
So Mia Ott now with a 2-second lead over Harrison Dengate. Our pole sitter somehow has come back up to second position. The ever-consistent Brenton Hobson now looking for a podium position. And then you've got Mulak and Haines still squabbling over what will be positions 4 and 5. Dylan Golson and Jonathan Bykoff a bit further back now. They've actually lost a fair bit of time. So realistically at this point, you'd say that it's probably a 4-car battle for the lead, given that we've now got less than 2 laps remaining. But it's been hilarity, it's been jokes and amusement right throughout this race, but it's starting to get serious now that we're in the dying stages with just 90 seconds to go, and Harrison Dengate's in the pits. Harrison Dengate, our pole sitter's night is done with damage. Caleb Hydes and Cohen Attard have both pitted as well, as we see Jordan Mulak down on the inside of Brenton Hobson. These cars battling over positions 2 and 3. Hobson taking the high line and holding out Jordan Mulak with a beautiful run around the outside.
A minute to go. That's 2 laps around this track. Someone's stuck on their roof, the rear wheel's spinning off the exit of the last corner. Someone's just blown over in the background. And Hobson trying to shut down a 3-second gap. Won't do it. They're 3 wide. He's in the fence and Mulak's around.
Mulak gets turned hard, and that's going to drop him off the podium. Dylan Golson and Jonathan Bykoff now the 2 cars that will be fighting for the podium position, but out in front, Mia Ott, who in season 2 of Just Send It became the first female and is so far the only female driver to get a win in the Just Send It series, now leads by almost 4.5 seconds. She just needs to keep it on the black stuff, and she just needs to bring it home from here with 1 lap remaining.
She's going to give Pete Dunham a very wide berth here. Oh,
it's nervous, isn't it? It is so nervous watching this. Oh, looking at the inside. Oh, there was a car that went spinning off in the background, but Mia Ott, really, if she just follows Peter Dunham home, she'll be safe because she's got buffer. She's 4.3 seconds ahead of the next car. As we see another one crashing and flipping just behind, and that's our Jackson Griffith. I thought there for a minute it might have been.
Oh, she's around!
Mia Ott, huge slide, huge sideways moment. Can she hold onto it? Yes, she saves it. Talk about a heart-stopping moment on the final lap of the race on the home stretch. But the checkered flag is out, and it's going to be Mia Ott who takes out week 2, season 4 of the Just Send It iRacing series of the Monza Oval Circuit after a chaotic race filled with drama, filled with incidents. It's Mia Ott that gets the job done.
Mia?
How did I do that? Okay, I've got to calm down. So, I don't know how after a 3-minute tow, the second last caution, I came home to win it, and after that,
Can we talk about the last corner?
Look, I'm not gonna lie. If I did lose it, there would have been a lot of explosives come out. Yeah, that was that was something. Because I told him over the comms, let me go, it'd be nice, and then he just screws it up. Like, oh no. So,
wow.
But yeah, somehow put hands on the wheel, just flailed around, and somehow saved it. So I can for some reason I can somehow save unsavable incidents. So you know,
we're just watching a replay of that save in the last corner now. pretty much every other driver in the race who's had that sort of incident has ended up either spinning out of control or doing massive cartwheels up into the stratosphere. So somehow you managed to get away with it and you've brought it home for your second win in the Just Send It series tonight.
Yeah, well, looking back at it now, I did a bit of a wall tap as well on the drift, but yeah, that was probably one of my best wins I've had so far this year.
Good job, Mia.
Congratulations to Mia Rott. She is our race winner for Just Send It this evening. 1.05 seconds, the final margin back to Brenton Hobson. Dylan Goss, after all of the drama, somehow manages to salvage a podium. Jonathan Bykoff in 4th ahead of David Haines, Jordan Mulak and Dean Flavel in 7th position. Only 7 cars on the lead lap at the end of that one. Dylan Campbell in 8th, back to Jackson Griffith and Harrison Dengate completing the top 10.
Keep an eye on your screen as it scrolls through the rest of the field and you can see where your favourite driver finished in this one. Lockie, that race had it all right from the start to the end. We almost had a wreck at the front on the last corner. Somehow, after 36 laps, it's Mia Ott, who was, remember, before the last caution period, racing the leaders to get her lap back, that has won this race.
Unbelievable, isn't it? But it just shows that it's worth keeping on, fighting on, even if you have suffered some adversity. But for me, I mean, the first 4/5 of that race was a bit of a comedy session, if we're being totally honest here. We had 3 safety cars, which is the most that we've ever had in a Just Send It race, but it all got pretty serious there towards the end. And look at the attrition rate. I mean, we talk about the fact that there are only 7 cars that finished on the lead lap, but pretty much everyone from 21st down was more than 6 or 7 laps behind the leader, and in a lot of cases retired altogether.
Well, crazy race, as it always is, and Just Send It. If you enjoyed it, make sure you hit like, make sure you subscribe to SimSpeed TV channel on YouTube for many more races like this, and many serious iRaces as well, each and every day of the week, where the racing is a little bit more seriously taken. But Just Send It, it's all about having fun, having some crazy moments like that. And make sure you like Just Send It on Facebook to update with all of their latest events. From us here in the booth, though, we will sign off. My name is Ryan Jones, Lachlan Mansell alongside me, and Jake Kennedy behind the scenes, struggling to keep his composure. We say goodnight. See you next time.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now. He's got traction. He's got everything outside of both of them. Maloney. Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up to him. Oh, my God. Oh, big crash. Oh, my goodness. Half the field's going to get rolled.
It's very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go. Oh, no.
That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh, my God.
God, what?